negotiation and prosecution, the county is on civil cases, the county is the county attorney's client. It's not one of a master-servant relationship. It's one of principal-agent. And on criminal cases, the state is the client with respect to felony. And with respect to ordinances promulgated or passed by the county commissioners, then once again, on those particular criminal cases, the county is the client again. You're right, it's set forth in the statute, but I have not proposed making policy, nor have I proposed leading the way on my own. My proposal is the political will of the elected officials leading the way, along with the county doing exactly what Brock talks about, which is legal preparation. There's no suggestion about violation of separation of powers. I can guarantee you I would never, ever do that, under any circumstances. Another thing that the county attorney does is to advise the civil agencies. He has to provide, as Brock has said, accurate, timely, and lawful legal advice. I would do that. I do that every single day at my law office. I advise international companies. I advise businessmen. I advise police officers. I also advise prosecutors, or rather the city of Hilldale on certain issues. And to me, the issue is not me or Brock. The issue is far greater than us. And that's my vision. My vision is to take this on, and I think it's worth a shot. It doesn't cost anything, it just takes effort.
Hey, this is last question. What is the proper balance between aggressive prosecution and respecting citizens' rights? And where do you stand on self-defense and defense of property issues? And so Nathan, we'll go ahead with you and then Brock.
Thank you. You know, I have a love of law enforcement. I was a bailiff for a couple of years. I got pepper sprayed. So did a couple other people in this audience, and it's quite painful. I took a polygraph test. That was actually kind of scary, but I did pass. And so I have a lot of empathy and love of law enforcement. However, what is the proper balance? The proper balance is set forth in the Bill of Rights. Did you know that most of the rights set forth in the Bill of Rights protect the criminally accused? It doesn't protect bad people. It's a restraint on government. And so, with the Fourth Amendment, every time one of our police officers upholds the Fourth Amendment without being told to do so, he strengthens the Constitution. Every time one of our prosecutors allows a defendant to know that his spouse doesn't have to testify against him, that strengthens the Constitution. Every time we step up, like I do out in Hilldale, and suggest to defendants that, you know what, you're not able to take me on by yourself. I would highly recommend you get counsel. That's fighting hard, but it's upholding the Sixth Amendment in spirit and in law. And that's what I believe. The Bill of Rights tells us what the balance is, and the fight that you have in you is the aggressiveness.
I actually agree with all of that. It's a problem for a prosecutor to have a jury that has people on it who think that the police are over-aggressive or heavy-handed. And it's also a problem when prosecutors are perceived to be overzealous or fighting to win at all costs as opposed to doing justice. And that doesn't do anybody any good in our community to have that perception out there. Prosecutors help make our community safe by holding people accountable appropriately and by seeking appropriate penalties that will help our community grow and help the individuals involved to change productively. Sometimes there are those for whom there is no appropriate penalty other than to throw the book at them. But sometimes there's not, and each and every case is different. And we do our very best, under every circumstance, to seek justice. One of the questions was, what do I think about the defense of habitation and self-defense? I think those are incredibly important. In our office, there are times when we have fully recognized those rights and not brought charges against people because they were defending their homes or their lives or their loved ones. My office supports the right of people to bear arms and use it in self-defense. And I filed an amicus brief in the Supreme Court that in the very case that led to this, the right to bear arms being recognized as an individual right. So I believe that that's an important, it's not only constitutional, but it's also part of our community's public safety.
We probably agree on this the very most, because the prosecutor's power is extraordinary, and we have to be very, very careful we comply with the Constitution. And it's not only guaranteed under statutory authority from the state of Utah, but under ancient English common law. A man's home is his castle. A woman's home is her castle. A woman has a right to defend her children. A man has a right to defend his family. And if they assert that defense, we investigate it. And you know what? If there's no probable cause that they violated the law, the case should be dismissed. I support that wholeheartedly.
Okay, so here we are going to turn to the audience participation. So you can fire away, ask questions. The candidates will be given a 1-minute response, so you can ask whoever that question, and we're just going to go from there. But like I said, you get a 1-minute response. And just for your information, Wade has been put the timer up there, so you have that to it. So that's good. So I think what we're going to do, in light of the fact that this only stretches so far, you have a choice. You can stand up. If you have a loud, moving voice, go ahead and ask the question.
That he's the prosecutor in Hillsdale, and then Hillsdale defense. Never stop.
You got 10 to 15 seconds to ask a question. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
How long has he been a prosecutor in Hillsdale? How many cases have he filed? Misdemeanor and some.
I've been prosecuting Hillsdale for just under 2 years. We probably have about 15 cases a month, I would guess. And I've not prosecuted myself any felony cases. However, I've worked on quite a few felony cases as a judicial law clerk at the 4th District Court of Utah. So with Judge Stephen Hansen, who's a district court judge, he was nearing retirement and gave me a lot of responsibility. So I researched and made rulings on motions to suppress. We did the state of Utah's second factual innocence trial, which I was heavily involved in. And so from the prosecution and defense point of view, I think I've had quite a bit of experience on felonies, but to admit to you, no, I've never prosecuted a felony because that's beyond the jurisdiction of Hillsdale.
You have a follow-up question. What kind of misdemeanor cases have you filed?
They have assaults, they have drug cases. A lot of times people get in fights out there. I don't know exactly why, but it's usually along those lines. And then, of course, your basic infractions.
Okay, anybody else? Go ahead. We have Aaron, go ahead.
Hey, this is for Brock. I was just wondering why when St. George code enforcement officers were going onto people's property without search warrants, why the county attorney's office wouldn't prosecute them.
The county attorney's office never was presented with any cases of code enforcement officers going onto people's property without search warrants. There was an investigation conducted that was led by my investigator, Barry Goldie, but because the ALJ for the Code Enforcement Court is also one of my deputies, there was outcry and suggestions from several sources that our office could not be, or at least there would be a perception that we were biased with regard to any of that. So we sent the case out of the office. So I recused myself, and it was sent away.
Can I follow up on that?
Sure.
The question I have is, if you had a conflict of interest, wasn't there a conflict in having Barry Golden do the investigation because he was also under your control?
The problem that we have is who's going to do it. Who's going to pay for it? So what we have to do, and I understand that anytime you have government looking at other government, that there's going to be potential suggestions that there's a conflict of interest. And so the best we can do is Chinese wallet and then ask that another prosecutor unrelated to anybody in the case, review it, and then make the results completely public so everybody can look at it. Unless we decide, and what would actually be great with me, if the public wanted to say we're going to pay to have a special prosecutor or a special investigator handle these sorts of things, there's always going to be a problem with who's going to do it, who's going to pay for it. And in those circumstances, we do the best we can to be transparent. Transparency is the only clue that, or the only thing that I can think of under those circumstances.
This question's for Belnap, and I mean no disrespect, so I hope you'll take this in spirit as given. I think voters are tired of hearing about what an elected official can't do. They want to know what they can do and what they will do. That's probably the key. And it appears that we're going to have 2 new county commissioners that are young and have some pretty bold ideas about land issues. How will you work with them? How will you help them? Will you be supportive of their assertiveness when it comes to land issues?
Absolutely, my views align with theirs. My personal views align with theirs 100%. And I have fought for many years to protect us on the land issues. Alan Gardner, our existing county commissioner, supports me and endorses me on that fight. Zachary Rinstrom, the newly elected county attorney, Republican nominee, does as well. And the reason they do is because my heart is in it. But you know what? I also recognize that it's their call. And I would like to sit here and tell you, I'm going to lead the charge, I'm going to lead the fight. But that is not the county attorney's job. The county attorney has moral authority, the county attorney can prepare, the county attorney can suggest. But constitutionally, by statute, and respecting the votes of the people in choosing those commissioners, it's their call. I will support them wholeheartedly. I will fight for every goal they set up, every single one. And I will help them find the options and the avenues and give them a broad range of opinions and choices that they can pursue. But the truth is it is their call. You and all of you have elected them to make those policy decisions, to make those choices. That's what I'm saying.
More questions? Anybody else? All right, we got one right here. You had a hand up first. Go ahead.
I just have a question for Rob to expand a little bit. You said part of the role of the county attorney is to give advice and follow the lead. And we're talking about the code enforcement. If he's in your office, would you advise him not to break the law?
Thank you for that question, because I need to clarify. The administrative law judge hasn't broken the law. There's not been a suggestion that he's broken the law, and of course I would encourage him to follow the law. The administrative law judge is, and you know, I actually don't know, because it's not my issue. It's a St. George City thing. I have Chinese walls myself. Maybe Eric would say, yeah, I got a problem with that administrative law judge, but yes, I would say follow the law. It's just that I'm not aware that there's been any allegation against him. The allegation that came to me that said that there's a conflict was because the judge in the case is also one of your prosecutors, it's not appropriate for you to be looking at the underlying facts.
Thank you.
This is for Nate, Jerry Jager. We've worked before on cases. I've been a prosecutor for about 15 years, and personally, I don't feel qualified to apply to be the county attorney. Why do you, with only 2 years of experience, feel like you're actually qualified to be county attorney?
Great question. Thanks, Jerry. Jerry and I have worked on a case together. Well, let me give you a little bit about my background. I do have a doctorate in law, which is required for this job, unless, of course, you're one of the fortunate people who got a Bachelor of Laws back in the old days. But I also have 3 years of specialized education after law school. So that's 6 years of graduate education, plus 4 years as an attorney. I've passed the bar exam in Idaho and in Utah. And what gives me the thought that I'm qualified? I think that the biggest issue of our day is constitutional preparation. And I would suggest that I'm one of the most qualified people in this county on that issue. I teach history. I have a master's degree in U.S. history. I have a doctorate in law. And the emphasis and study that I gave 3 years of my life to was all about the Constitution. And that's why I'm qualified. I don't suggest that I know much about, I don't suggest that I approach your expertise in prosecution. However, I think it's appropriate for a county attorney to defer and never micromanage, which I would not do, and I know Brock doesn't do, because you're an expert in your field, and I'm an expert in mine. But I bring a lot of people together under different circumstances. Negotiation is one of my best skills, and I've been very, very successful in private practice in that. And I feel that I can do the same thing as county attorney.
For you, I know in the past you've stated that you would have someone specifically assigned within the office to anticipate constitutional challenges.
Right. And
so is it your suggestion that you would have the taxpayers of Washington County have a prosecutor technically on staff, just waiting for some constitutional challenge to come on the pike?
no, that's a great point. Thank you. It wasn't Mr. Jensen?
Erickson.
Erickson. I apologize.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, Mr. Erickson teaches over at Dixie with me. Great question. 100% appropriate. No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting I would be that constitutional law attorney. Wouldn't be any extra cost. I may have to work more than a typical job, but I already have 3 jobs now. I'm okay with it.
How many felony cases have you prosecuted as a lead attorney?
I've been in the county attorney's office for 5 years. I had 5 years experience before then. I had prosecuted probably hundreds of cases. I don't know how many because I was the chief civil deputy, but I have also prosecuted cases in justice court and in criminal court. Now let me just say with regard to the question of experience. I have the most awesome professional staff. The attorneys and the legal assistants who work there are of extraordinary and outstanding caliber. And you know what? They support me. And I am grateful for that. And I appreciate their affection and their loyalty. But you know what? If Nathan wins this, they're not going to slack. Their professional integrity will not wane. They will continue to represent the people of Washington County fully and with the integrity that they do now.
I think we got time for probably 2 more questions, if you want to ask 2 more questions. Go ahead.
Yes, I want to ask Nate a similar question to what you asked for Brock, and that is how you see your role in relationship to the county commission and executive branch.
Right. I agree with Brock wholeheartedly. The county is our client with respect to civil issues, and the county takes the lead on policy. My belief is that the county will want to do this, and the county commissioners will. I have at least 5 mayors who have expressed strong interest in promoting this. Mayor Pike of St. George, Mayor Nielsen of Washington, Mayor Bramwell of Hurricane, Mayor Gubler of Laverican, and also Mayor Bracken of Enterprise. And I've talked with some of the other county commissioners. I can't speak for them. I know that some of them are supporting Brock, but that's appropriate. He's worked and advised them for well over a decade. I think that it's absolutely appropriate to support him. But I can tell you this, my ego is big enough to run, but it's small enough to be corrected. And I'll take advice from my superiors, who are first, the voters of Washington County, and second, my client, who's the county of Washington.
I have one question for both of you, and that is, when we go to the polls on June 24th, I want to know what's the difference. So I want to know what is the key difference between you and your opponent.
Brock, you stood up. You were really.
It's for both of you.
I need to think about that. Okay.
Well, they'll have their 2-minute closing remarks
Yeah,
too.
we could
Do you want to do that with that? Because I think we're about there. We'll take one more question and then we'll hand it over to them for their 2 minutes. Great.
I'm curious how many children they have and who their spouses are.
You get to stand up.
I'll take that question first. I can handle that. Okay, the beautiful girl right next to my mom, who a lot of people think is my wife, because she looks young, but she's actually my mom. The other brown-haired girl is Emily Caplin. She gave birth to our third daughter on the day I filed for office, and she's supported me ever since. Extraordinary woman.
I mentioned we're going to give each candidate 2 minutes each, starting with Nathan and with Ron, just to sum everything up.
Thank you, James. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate the questions, and I appreciate the candidness of all of you, and the civility of my friend Brock. And I've tried to be civil and gentlemanly this entire campaign. And I encourage, and we both encourage all of our supporters to do the same, because this is really not about us, it's about issues, and it's about what our county can be. My vision of the county is one where justice is done, where people are listened to, where we tap a resource that is so huge and so valuable at no cost, and that is the intellectual resource of our citizens. Think about how many retired attorneys we have here. Think about how many retired doctors we have, politicians, businessmen, even retired civil servants from the federal government who come to me and said, what's happening now violates the separation of powers. Maybe they don't say it precisely in those words, but they're frustrated with the progressive authoritarianism of the administration of these agencies. They're frustrated with the fact that almost 3,000 regulations are promulgated by these agencies, while Congress rarely even passes a law relative to these agencies. You know, it's in the hundreds. They're frustrated by the fact that our Constitution says the state government is in charge of everything that's not enumerated and specifically given to the federal government. These people have insider knowledge. We should use them, and that's why I've proposed a community council that is volunteer and no cost, but they can be our eyes and ears on the ground, both for rising crime with certain specifics in certain neighborhoods and for suggestions on constitutional law. That's my vision. It's to bring all of us together.
I'm really in this race because I look at my family and my children, and then I look around this beautiful, beautiful county that we live in. It's spectacular because of its physical beauty, but it's marvelous because of the people who live here. We have low crime, we have traditional values, we have people who love this place, and I want to preserve it for my children and grandchildren and my parents and my grandparents. The way I can do that is lift where I stand. I stand with specific responsibilities to prosecute crime fairly and justly. That's my job, and I do it the best I can. And I reach out to community partners to come up with innovative ways to make it better for our community. It's also my job to keep the county out of liability and to uphold the Constitution. And I do that to the best of my ability. And I've been very successful at it. When you look to hire an attorney, I think you want to hire somebody who's got the professionalism and skills and experience to do the job right. You're hiring for a job, for a professional position. The reason I'm running is not because I want the job. I could go find a job any place, but I have the true belief that I am the best candidate to move Washington County forward, to keep our community safe, to protect local control. And I just ran out of time.
We deeply appreciate you two coming. And it is a civil dialogue I think you two have going. And I hope we've been able to answer the question. And I'm sure it'll be answered as they go forward with this campaign as to what distinguishes them. Probably subtle differences, but that's for you as voters to decide. So with that, we appreciate once again everybody coming and your activism attitude. We appreciate it.